Hi guys, I'm Mrs. Carraz, and this is Social Studies Chapter 2, Europe Looks Outward. Those are my dogs barking in the background. And today we are looking at Section 1, the Age of Exploration. That's fun. So the Vikings were the first known Europeans in the Americas. They came from Scandinavia, and they got here in the year 1001 CE, or Common Era. Leif Erikson and 35 other Vikings sailed from a colony on Greenland to explore parts of a country that they called Vinland. Historians suspect that Vinland was actually North America, making the Vikings the first Europeans to be over here. The man you've probably heard most about is Christopher Columbus. And some background on Columbus to start us off. He grew up in Genoa, Italy, and moved to Portugal in the 1470s. At this time, Portugal was Europe's leading seafaring nation. So if you were someone who wanted to explore the open seas, Portugal was the place to be. Columbus got the idea to sail west to Asia from Portugal, not knowing that the Americas existed and were in the way. Basically, he was just looking for another way to get to the places in Asia that Europeans wanted to travel with. So he went to the King of Portugal asking for money for this trip, and the king refused him. He liked Diaz's route, which we looked at in the last chapter, around Africa, and he thought that Columbus's calculations were wrong, which in fact they were, but they were profitably wrong, which we'll get to later. Columbus moved to Spain, where he got King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella's support to take this trip. When we say support, we mean money in this case. So once the financing is in place, Columbus is ready to set sail. He and 90 men leave Spain in August of 1492. They're on 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. They're small ships between 55 and 90 feet long, which cover about 170 miles per day. That's painfully slow for if you're thinking about the rate that we travel at. And Columbus, with his genius calculations, thought it would take 21 days to reach Asia, sailing west from Spain. So at the 30-day mark, when there's absolutely no land in sight, the crew becomes restless and mutinous. When we say mutinous, that means they're ready to turn on Columbus. They don't trust his leadership anymore. Finally, on October 12th, 1492, Columbus and his men spot land. They immediately claim this land for the country of Spain, and Columbus believes he's on an island off the coast of Asia called the Indies, so he calls the natives Indians, and he nicknames this place Hispaniola. The connection to the Spanish heritage is clear there. Columbus then sails southwest to what he thinks is Japan, but in actuality that is Cuba. And he returns to Spain in January 1493, still thinking that this whole time he was in Asia. So Columbus tells Ferdinand and Isabella that there's a bunch of gold in the land that he discovered, which he now nicknames the West Indies. They make him governor, and they give him money for more trips, because now they believe that this discovery will help them make more money in return. So in September of 1493, Columbus, plus 17 ships, plus 1,500 soldiers, settlers, and priests, traveled back to the West Indies. They want to colonize and rule this land for Spain, and their second goal is to convert the natives to Christianity. They want to spread their religion across the world. During this journey, they discover other islands, specifically Puerto Rico is one of them, and men Columbus had left behind from his first journey, well, they're not there waiting when Columbus and his new crew arrive again. They had been killed by the natives. Columbus seems relatively unfazed by this. He starts a new settlement and enslaves the natives in the process. Columbus makes more voyages in 1498 and 1502. Eventually, Columbus dies in Spain in 1506, still convinced he reached Asia. So Columbus had never known the new world that he actually discovered. There are other explorers making important contributions at this time. So Amerigo Vespucci takes 2 trips to the West Indies And he realizes that Columbus is wrong. This is not at all a place in Asia. So when a German map maker actually makes a map of these new lands, he nicknames this territory, what Columbus called the West Indies, the land of Amerigo. And that ultimately becomes America. So we have him to thank for our nation's name. In 1510, Spanish colonist Vasco Núñez de Balboa explores Panama, and he was the first European to see the Pacific Ocean. Remember, everything Columbus did was really along the east coast. In September 1519, Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan looks for an Atlantic passage connecting the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific. A strait is a narrow passage that connects two large bodies of water, and that's what he's looking for. A small connection between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans so that you can sail west from Europe and still make it through to Asia, which was Columbus's goal. They find a strait, or Magellan finds a strait, and it's nicknamed, shockingly, the Strait of Magellan, and it is under Argentina. He undergoes a long journey. There are conflicts with Filipinos along the way. Magellan's men, though, succeed at the end of the day in becoming the first to circumnavigate or travel around the entire Earth. The last piece of the puzzle for today is the Columbian Exchange. And this was a transfer of people, products, and ideas between hemispheres. In Chapter 1, we looked at how connections needed to be made between different cultures, and now we're seeing this come to life here. What Europe brings to America are things like cows, hogs, and domesticated animals, wheat and oats, and germs that wipe out large populations of Native Americans. What America brings to Europe? Well, llamas, turkeys, squirrels, muskrats, and crops that Europeans find valuable. We'll close with a map of the Columbian Exchange. So all of these things up here around this top purple arrow, we're going from the Americas to Europe, Africa, and Asia. And down here is everything coming from Europe, Africa, and Asia. And you'll see these diseases here playing a big role. That wraps us up for Chapter 2, Section 1. See you later, guys.